welcome to the Aero Export Consultants Podcast. I'm John Young, and this is The Point. The new year is moving full steam ahead, and we have a host of policy changes and decisions to keep track of, along with cabinet appointments, trade disputes, international interactions, and on top of all that, the Super Bowl is coming up. But let's not get sidetracked and start digging into what you're all here for. A breakdown of the recent EAR regulations for artificial intelligence as released by the Biden administration shortly before they left office. I've mentioned these regulations in the past episode, and like I said there, they constitute a parting shot into a largely gray area of regulations, where we're still trying to maintain a delicate balance of safety and prosperity. The conflict over AI development and control will likely be one of the great battles of this administration and, without sounding overly dramatic, perhaps our time. Within just the last week, China has unveiled its counterattack AI platform against ChatGPT, DeepSeek. In the wake of the TikTok ban, Americans are already wondering if this will be the next target of a Chinese-controlled app to be banned in America. Meanwhile, those of us in trade are wondering what this means for export controls and our continued efforts to deny China cutting-edge technologies and the upper hand in developing the future. So where are we now? What steps will we take going forward? Let's take a look at the recent Biden regulations, what the tech industry has to say about those regulations, and the actions taken by the Trump administration towards AI as we gear up for the second month of 2025. Released on January 13th, just a week before the Trump administration took office, the Biden administration announced the regulatory framework for the responsible diffusion of advanced artificial intelligence technology. This policy was designed to, quote, help build a trusted technology ecosystem around the world and allow us to protect against the national security risks associated with AI, while ensuring controls do not stifle innovation or U.S. technological leadership, end quote. This was according to former Secretary Gina Raimondo. She was just one of the Biden officials to release a statement regarding these last-minute regulations, so I'm just going to go ahead and read them all out for you as provided in the BIS press release that accompanied the regulations. Quote, the United States has a national security responsibility to preserve and extend American AI leadership and to ensure that American AI can benefit people around the world. Today, we are announcing a rule that ensures frontier AI training infrastructure remains in the United States and closely allied countries, while also facilitating the diffusion of AI globally. The rule both provides greater clarity to our international partners and to industry, and counters the serious circumvention and related national security risks posed by countries of concern and malicious actors who may seek to use the advanced American technologies against us. That was National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan. Next, from Undersecretary of Commerce for Industry and Security Alan Estevez, quote, AI has been rapidly progressing over the last decade and will only grow more powerful, resulting in the emergence of highly capable models with significant dual-use applications. This rule will protect national security and advance U.S. foreign policy by ensuring the responsible diffusion of frontier AI technology across the world, end quote. And finally, from Acting Assistant Secretary of Commerce for Export Administration Matthew Borman, quote, export controls provide a unique tool to address the quintessential dual-use nature of artificial intelligence. Through today's actions, we ensure the secure spread of AI capabilities, countering the potential for their use in weapon systems and other military activities contrary to U.S. national security. By doing so, we are creating paths that enable trusted partners to use this advanced technology for the benefit of civil society. So that's the press release, but what do these regulations actually try to accomplish? What are the areas of attention and the rules targeting those areas? The BIS describes the new framework as a three-pronged strategy. First, the rules update controls for advanced computing chips, the hardware required for AI to function. Additional countries require authorizations for exports, re-exports, and transfers, though exceptions, by which I mean new license exceptions, are included for a set of allies and partners. There are in fact 3 new license exceptions created by this new framework. The first is the Artificial Intelligence Authorization, or AIA license exception, which allows for the export, re-export, or transfer of advanced computing chips without an authorization to a set of allies and partners. The next is the Advanced Compute Manufacturing, or ACM license exception, which allows for the export, re-export, or transfer of advanced computing chips without an authorization for the purposes of development, production, and storage of these chips, except to arms-embargoed countries. This license exception builds on the temporary general license from October 2023 rule to prevent disruption of supply chains. The last new exception is the Low Processing Performance, or LPP license exception, which allows limited amounts of compute to flow globally except to arms-embargoed countries. There are also updates to the rules surrounding the Data Center Validated End User Program. The Data Center VEU program was updated in 2024 to, quote, facilitate quick and reliable export or re-export of items on the Commerce Control List necessary for a data center, including advanced computing items to pre-approved trusted end users. This rule has now been updated again, splitting the program into two options, the Universal VEU and the National VEU. The Universal VEU provides U.S. and certain allied and partner country entities with the opportunity to obtain a single authorization that will allow the company to build data centers around the world without additional authorizations, except in arms-embargoed countries, whereas the National VEU provides entities headquarters outside arms-embargoed countries the opportunity to obtain an authorization that will allow the company to build data centers in specified locations without additional authorizations, except in arms-embargoed countries. These changes come with an altered policy centered around presumption of approval. Now when a license is required for chip exports, applications will be reviewed with a presumption of approval for a certain allocation of chips. After a country reaches this allocation amount, applications will be reviewed with a policy of denial. Data centers as well will have specified scales allowed for facilities and requirements for their chip allocation. Now remember, there were three prongs of this strategy. The second prong of these regulation strategy is to institute new controls on the model weights of the most advanced closed-weight AI models. A closed-weight AI on a basic level refers to an AI with fixed parameters, like a pre-trained model for a specific task. To support these new controls, a new foreign direct product rule has been created that significantly expands power by applying the FDP to semiconductor manufacturing equipment. Put another way, the new FDP applies the new controls to certain model weights produced abroad using advanced computing chips made with U.S. technology or equipment. There are, of course, exceptions that come with the rule. One stems from the new AIA license exception, and the other is targeted at open models. Open model AIs are not subject to controls, along with closed models that are less powerful than open models. And this leads us to the third prong of this new AI strategy created by the outgoing Biden administration. Quote, BIS will impose security conditions to safeguard the storage of the most advanced models and destinations to protect U.S. national security and to mitigate the risk of diversion for advanced computing chips. To paraphrase Greg Allen from CSIS, these new regulations address restrictions of AI chips based on memory, where previously we had focused on logic. They significantly expand the foreign direct product rule application, and they add numerous Chinese companies to the entity list. The question we have to answer now is, are these changes effective? Unfortunately, many in the tech industry say no. The Semiconductor Industry Association, or SIA, released this statement in response to the regulations. SIA and our member companies share the U.S. government's commitment to safeguarding national security. We are, however, deeply concerned by the unprecedented scope and complexity of this potential regulation, which was developed without industry input and could significantly undercut U.S. leadership and competitiveness in semiconductor technology and advanced AI systems. We respectfully caution against making such a swift and significant shift in policy during this transitional period, and without meaningful consultation with industry. In the absence of such consultation, we urge the administration to issue a proposed rule, or hand over the policy-making process to the incoming Trump administration to ensure there is appropriate opportunity for government and industry leaders, together with our global partners, to thoughtfully address this critical matter. We stand ready to engage the U.S. government on how best to accomplish its national security goals in a targeted manner, while ensuring our companies can continue to compete and win globally. This was less of a blunt statement than what came from the executive VP of Oracle, who stated this new regulation, quote, will go down as one of the most destructive to ever hit the U.S. technology industry. His statement stems from the viewpoint that U.S. technological leadership flourished under a light amount of regulations, and this new almost 200-page document is a, quote, highly complex and wildly overbroad attempt to regulate artificial intelligence and GPUs in the name of national security. In the same conversation I mentioned earlier between Greg Allen from CSIS and others, the regulations were graded as a C+ at best. They said that, quote, there are real steps forward in these regs, but their delayed release was deeply harmful, and there are far too many counterproductive concessions to industry. So they're complex. Is that all that makes them counterproductive? According to reviewers like the VP of Oracle, their impact on U.S. industry is too heavy. Access to GPUs and AI will be restricted going forward, stifling innovation and competitiveness. These regulations could shrink the global chip market for U.S. firms by 80%. leaving the door wide open for China to seize what is left behind. Most professionals I've seen discussing these new regulations consider them to be one step forward, two steps back. And this is just our own industry's response. But even as I write up all of this, the AI landscape has changed again thanks to China. DeepSeek has been released, and it has rocked the AI world onto its heels. President Trump in Miami said that its release should be seen as a wake-up call to American companies. It has come out of nowhere as a reportedly cheaper-made and better AI platform than our own open AI programs like ChatGPT. Now, I am seeing commentators popping up and scrutinizing China's monetary claims regarding the development of DeepSeek, which I fully support, as nothing we hear from China in this regard should be taken at face value. But so far, nothing I have seen has denied it is a superior program. Again, more information is coming out by the hour, it seems, for this story. And right now, I am seeing and hearing allegations from both OpenAI and the nominee for Secretary of Commerce Howard Lutnick in his confirmation hearing that DeepSeek was built on the backs of American AI models. OpenAI has accused the Chinese startup behind DeepSeek of infringing the intellectual property of OpenAI's proprietary models to train their artificial intelligence. We know China has a disregard for American laws and intellectual property, and now it appears here's the proof, that they have used their disdain to gain a march in the AI industry. So how do we respond? And how have we already started changing things in America since the Trump transition? On January 23rd, President Trump issued an executive order regarding AI titled Removing Barriers to American Leadership in Artificial Intelligence. Immediately, this executive order rescinded President Biden's October 2023 executive order and revoked, quote, certain existing AI policies and directives that act as barriers to American AI innovation, clearing a path for the United States to act decisively to retain global leadership in artificial intelligence. At this point, the regulations we've been discussing stand, as they were not a part of the October 2023 executive order. However, this executive order also orders the review of related policies and the development of an AI action plan in order to establish U.S. dominance again in the industry. If the regulations released in January by the Biden administration are as truly harmful as some commentators suggest, then they likely will be subject to fierce scrutiny by the new administration, and actions to counteract elements of the policy may be taken. Along with executive actions, President Trump has also pushed forward a new project emerging in the private sector called the Stargate Project. Announced on January 21st, the Stargate Project is a new company that intends to invest $500 billion over the next 4 years to build a massive AI infrastructure for OpenAI in the United States. It is initially funded by SoftBank, OpenAI, Oracle, and MGX, with ARM, Microsoft, NVIDIA, Oracle, and OpenAI acting as the key initial technology partners. $100 billion is already being deployed, and the build is currently underway here in Texas. But let's not forget export controls just yet. This is the big question. How will we respond directly? Getting rid of detrimental regulations and cheering on private companies is well and good, but something even the detractors of the new regulations admit is that there is a need for protections for controls designed for national security. How do we achieve that without squashing innovation? Greg Allen opts for a countrywide approach to export controls. These new regulations are a scalpel approach, focused on end use, when what we really need is a shotgun approach, a focus on countrywide export controls. In his opinion, quote, they've proven unambiguously most effective among our policy iterations. Instead of focusing on specific products with specific qualifications, allowing China to overcome issues with their use of loopholes and industrial might, hit them broadly all across the board, crippling them by splitting their resources. There are problems with every strategy, but the one thing we can't do is nothing. We need to find the best path that adequately protects American security and interests while allowing for American prosperity. As I said earlier, the story around AI is evolving by the hour, with new information and new statements emerging every day from industry professionals and government officials. This episode could be over an hour in length, most likely. I've barely even mentioned how these new regulations affect our allies, like in Europe. This is a subject we have not seen the end of, so don't be surprised if I cover it here again or over on the EIB podcast. I've already seen China's DeepSeek referred to as the modern Sputnik. I think this is an apt comparison as we kick off what appears to be the AI arms race, though we all should hope arms do not become involved. China has stolen a lap on us. They have launched their first man into space. Now American industry is going to have to wake up and land on the moon, whatever that translates to in AI terms. Trade with China affects the whole economy, which means all of American industry should pay careful attention to the developments around AI. It's the current battlefield, and we have to familiarize ourselves with it where we can, so we can be better prepared to do our part to secure our interests and succeed in our works. In preparing this episode, I used AI seriously for the first time. It was just the Microsoft Copilot program on my desk, so a very simple program, likely only one step or two above Siri in terms of sophistication and capability. But nevertheless, I was taken aback by its abilities. I was able to get a summary of the new AI regulations and question the program back and forth about their pros and cons, their strengths and weaknesses. It was pretty illuminating. We're in the AI age, listeners. There's no getting away from it now. Stay tuned for future updates in the AI race that are doubtlessly on the way. And remember, for all your questions and export compliance needs, contact us here at Aero Export Consultants. Research done right, compliance made simple. I'm John Young, and this has been The Point.